jobs and education.
Not for war and occupation.
Money for jobs and education.
Not for war and occupation.
Money for jobs and...
Hi, I'm Andrew Castro. I'm with the Answer Coalition here in Baltimore.
And what's going on tonight, Andy?
Basically, the Answer Coalitions this week we're calling for national demonstrations to stop the bombing of Libya. We're here to condemn the U.S., French, and British war on Libya. And we're here to call them out on their lies. The official line out of Washington is that it's a humanitarian intervention, and we know that's not true because through the experience of Egypt, we saw that the United States government continued to fund the Mubarak regime, a dictatorship that lasted over 30 years, and they funded him up until the very last days of his presidency. We also know that they're funding the Saudi monarchy, which actually intervened in the democratic uprisings in Bahrain, and they couldn't have done that without the United States' approval. And so we're basically posing the question, how could the United States government intervene on behalf of democracy and freedom and protecting the liberties of these people rising up while they're suppressing another people's movement in this other country, in Bahrain?
There's some other questions about this too, Andy, with respect to first the Constitution.
Yeah.
It says that only the Congress shall declare war, and there is President Obama committing these troops without their approval.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one aspect. The other is the cost.
Yeah.
They said it's already, or could cost $1 billion. I don't know what our share of it is. But here we got these problems in this country with Camden, New Jersey is broke, Detroit's going to hell.
Yeah.
So what's going on about that part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I personally don't know how much it's costing or how much it's costed yet, but we just last week, was the 8th-year anniversary of the invasion of Iraq. And Afghanistan, that war is still raging on, and we spended billions and billions of dollars. The Wall Street banks have been bailed out, $11 trillion there, and people don't want another war. The American people have said no to the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and people should rise up and say no to this war too, because they're saying that we have no money. They're saying that people need to accept all these cutbacks. Here in Maryland, state workers' pensions are being attacked, and so we can see that there is plenty of there is plenty of money. It's just not going to where it needs to go.
And the cover for this, they use the word humanitarian, and I understand already 100 innocent civilians have been killed. And more are expected to die. And of course the other question is, what is under the ground in Libya? What is it they're really looking for?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's clear that they want oil. Libya has the largest oil reserves in all of Africa. And while the Gaddafi government has made some concessions to U.S. imperialism, to British imperialism, contracting with BP, it's not pro-imperialist, and it's not very friendly to imperialism either. But the objective for U.S. imperialism is to gain control over those oil deposits. And so, what we saw yesterday was the coalition interim government form, and it's our understanding that the United States could be satisfied with dividing the country, because we do see a division between the East and West, and there's broad support for both, and so the United States is taking advantage of that situation, and we see that they could be content, not 100% satisfied obviously, but content with having a new sort of power in that country to sort of influence that, to establish a client state and control the oil.
Anything else, Andy?
No, that's all.
Thanks so much.
Education!
Not for war and occupation.
Money for jobs and education!
Not for war and occupation.
My name is Sarah Sloan. I'm the National Staff Coordinator of the Answer Coalition, and we're here in downtown Baltimore demonstrating to demand an immediate end to the U.S., British, French bombing of Libya, and for the U.S. government instead to be using money for jobs, housing, healthcare, education that people need, rather than yet another war in the Arab world. This demonstration is part of events taking place around the country. Yesterday we demonstrated in New York and San Francisco, today in Baltimore, LA, and Chicago. This Saturday we'll be in front of the White House in DC, and we'll also be in other cities and towns all over the country, because the people who were in the streets opposing the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan recognize that this is once again an instance where the US government creates justifications for their war. They pretend that they're carrying out a humanitarian intervention, but we know that there's no such thing as a humanitarian intervention. That since Saturday, day and night, bombs and missiles have been raining down of the people of Tripoli and other Libyan cities, that people have been killed, that the country is being destroyed by the US military, and we are calling for it to end immediately, and for the Libyan people to have a right to self-determination rather than foreign intervention.
Anything else, Sarah?
Well, we're going to continue to be in the streets. This week's demonstrations is really just the first series of events, but we believe opposition to this war will continue to build, that some people are fooled by the justifications the US government has been giving, but just like in Iraq, just like in Afghanistan, the veil will be ripped open and people will see the truth, that this intervention is no different than other US military interventions, and it should be opposed by all people who stand against war and who stand for social and economic justice.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.